Last week we mentioned that testimonial videos are a great place to start if you want to get into video production, and we gave you a couple tips on how to shoot better interviews. Now, while interviews are definitely the driving force behind testimonial videos, there is another crucial part that we call B-roll. If you ever heard filmmakers talk, you may hear the term B-roll tossed around, but what exactly is B-roll? Now, we're a little bit vague on the history of this term, but basically your main action, the main stuff that you shoot is your A-roll, and the supplemental stuff that you shoot is your B-roll. When it comes to testimonial videos, your main action are the interviews, and everything else you shoot, all the supplemental footage, that's your B-roll. So now that you know what B-roll is, what is it used for? Well, there are three main reasons. The first is to illustrate or give some context to what someone is saying. For example, you may have someone in an interview saying that we've set up our brand new office or check out our brand new facilities, and it'd be nice to show a shot of that office or facilities in the video. Second, B-roll can help reduce the monotony of your video. As engaging as someone might be, hearing them talk for a couple of minutes can be very boring, and adding in some B-roll shots can help keep your audience's attention. And lastly, having B-roll shots can really make your final edit have that professional look. When editing an interview, you may want to cut out unwanted sentences, pauses, or mistakes or camera moves that you just don't want in there. If you don't have any B-roll, it can look like your interview subject is jumping around all the time. Having B-roll to cover up those edits can give it a nice polished professional look in the end. Alright, now you know what B-roll is and how it's used. So let's give you some tips on how to shoot some good B-roll. Tip number 1. Shoot as much B-roll as you can. Whether you're editing the video yourself or handing it off to someone else, you want to give the editor as much choice as you can. So while you have the time, shoot as much B-roll as you can. Tip number 2, vary what you shoot as much as you can. When it comes to shooting B-roll, sometimes it's easiest to stick to what you know. Your friends may be involved in the shoot, so you might stick to shooting shots of them. But to keep your video exciting, you want to vary what you shoot as much as you can. Shoot some still life like plants or books or pens or computers. If you're shooting an indoor location, step outside and see if you can get an exterior shot. If you're shooting on a street, maybe walk down a couple blocks and see what you can shoot there. Another thing you might want to consider is getting some B-roll of the interview itself. Shooting some details around the interview like their chair, like their hands, or even things in the background can also add a lot. Tip number 3, vary the type of shot that you want to use. In our last tip, we set you up to shoot a lot of different subject matter, but to make things more interesting, vary up the type of shot you want to use. Experiment with static shots, panning left and right, tilting up and down, using sliders, using gimbals, using drone shots, close-ups, medium and wide shots, high-angle shots, low-angle shots, just to mention a few. Consider shooting the exact same thing in multiple ways to give your editor maximum choice. Tip number 4, stay on your shot for at least 5 seconds. When you're shooting B-roll, especially for things like event coverage, it can be very tempting to dart around. You may shoot something for 2 seconds and then whip over to something else for 2 seconds and then whip over to something else for 2 seconds. And the problem with that is it can be really hard to edit that, and you may be missing some subtle nuances in your shot. So what you want to do is stay on your shot for at least 5 seconds. And if you're planning a motion shot, try to stretch that out as much as you can. In fact, there are times that we've shot B-roll shots where we've held on a subject for about 2 minutes because we're just waiting for the exact right moment to appear on camera. And finally, tip number 5, practice, practice, practice. Shooting B-roll is definitely something that you get better at the more you do it. In fact, some of the best B-roll shooters I've seen are wedding videographers because every time they do a shoot, they get about 10 hours of practice. So just get out there and shoot as much as you can. What's really interesting about shooting B-roll is that if you're given more time than you actually need, you actually start to get really creative. So here's a great challenge. Go find a room and give yourself a minimum of 1 hour to shoot B-roll in that room. After about 20 minutes, you'll probably think that you've got everything that you can get. But then the remainder of the time, you're forced to get creative and come up with new interesting shots. Some of the best shots that we've ever taken have actually come after we thought we've got everything that we need. When you're shooting on a production day, you don't necessarily know what the video is going to end up like. So capturing as much as you can when you can will set you up nicely for post-production. Alright, there you go. Now you know how to shoot great interviews, and now you know how to shoot great B-roll. In a future video, we're going to explore editing all that together. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified about future videos. We also encourage you to visit our blog as there's a bunch more material like this, and we'd love to hear from you guys in terms of things you'd like to see in the future. Alright, that's it for now. See you in the next one.